Hello. Oh, where's my voice? Hello. Hello. Welcome to the live for Tuesday night. Few technical difficulties, but I'm here with you now. So hopefully nothing else will go wrong. So it is Tuesday. It is Tuesday Night Live. Tuesday, the what the heck date is it? I don't know. It's that time of year where I don't know. It's the 28th of December as I'm recording this. Uh, what did I do today? I don't even know. It's been a busy day of doing stuff, right? I didn't have to do any cooking today, so that was exciting. I did my tiramisu recipe last week. Um, and now I went to the gym this morning. I had taken a little bit of a half a week. So I missed two training sessions last week. Hey Miriam, it's good to see you. Do you guys know Miriam? Miriam Bear with Keto Chow, which is my favorite protein powder drink mix. I don't know. It's not really just a protein powder, it's a meal replacement shake, but I tend to use it a lot in my baking more than anything else, but it's fabulous. And I've been trying out some flavors and some baking. And what else is going on? So, hey, Kristen, nice to see you. Glad that you could be here from the beginning as well. I went to the gym this morning, did a little rush session because I had to be somewhere, but I got it in and arrived where I needed to be only about 5 minutes late, so that's fine. Let's sort of on time ish. Then I came home, I did some work, I talked to some people about Keto Unstuck who had some questions, which is my program for people who are stuck and trying to fix what's going on, right? Because there are some reasons that people get stuck, right? So, one, I talked about this on my podcast a little bit this week or last week. I don't even know what week it is. But basically, like, one, you know what to do, but you're not doing it. Two, you're not sure what you should be doing. Three, you think you're doing what you should be doing, you're doing it, and it's still not working. Those are can kind of break those things down if you're in one of those three camps, right? I can't can anyone think of a camp that is not covered by one of those camps? You let me know. But isn't doing what they think they should be doing, is doing what they think they should be doing, but it's not working, or doesn't know what they should be doing. I think that's pretty much all of it. Um, Helene says, can't wait to start my program. Fabulous. I'm excited to have you, Helene. Ken says, any advice for how much choline? Do you mean choline or colcine? I don't know that I know the exact number for each one of those, but so I would have to look it up to be sure. Um, Michelle says, do I have any tips for people that work the night shift? Yeah, the night shift is certainly a bit of a challenge, isn't it? There definitely, I think the first tip that is incredibly challenging for people working the night shift, especially, is just that you're getting enough sleep, period, even if it's on the wrong, quote unquote, the wrong shift, right? That if you work at night when most people would normally be sleeping, but then you still need to get an appropriate amount of sleep. So the first issue is don't shortchange your sleep, and that will take care of several of the issues that tend to happen when people work night shift. Because a lot of times I'll see people, my uncle, my great uncle, he was my great uncle, used to work night shift. And I remember going over to see my cousins. So I guess they were my second cousins. In my dad's family, people had kids young and medium, not old, but kind of, and so the generations are a little crossed over, right? There's not a real distinctive generation. So I have second cousins who are more my generation. That makes sense on his side of the family. But I remember why any of you need to know that. I'm not sure. Sorry. But but I would go visit my cousins when I was a little kid, and their dad, who's my great uncle, worked night shift. And I remember for him, like 5 hours of sleep was sort of what he would get, not not the norm, not the 7 that we're pretty much supposed to get, right? So a lot of people I find on night shift, well, that was a lot of background for a very short bit of information, wasn't it? A lot of people working night shift tend to shortchange their sleeping a little bit so that they get some crossover with their family who is on maybe a daytime schedule, more standardized. And so that's the first challenge, making sure you're getting a good amount of sleep even though you're working that night shift. If that is handled and you are actually getting 7, maybe even 8 hours of sleep a night, then, it's really maybe about, getting daylight in your eyes when it kind of depends when your shift starts, right? That from there, it really gets customized, but I think the first and main priority is getting plenty of sleep, period. Um, And Ken, I don't honestly know. So I'm gonna have to put that off to somebody who knows more about that specifically as it relates to gout. It's not something that I have at the top of, like, it's not something that I have in my head. I could probably do some research on it, but I couldn't talk in an educated manner about it right now. Sorry about that. Um, Kristen says, "How often do you do the unstuck coaching? I'm going to try B, 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 and E, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to need help." So, just to fill people in if they don't know what the shorthand was in that question, B, 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 and E. It's not breaking and entering. It's bacon, beef, butter, and egg challenge, which is something that I know Dr. Ken Berry and Nisha do, and that's basically that you it's basically it's a severe, what's the right word, strict, that's the word I'm looking for, strict version of carnivore. And for a lot of people, they're going into that to take care of a couple of different things. Sometimes when you try that challenge, what are you doing? Well, you're eliminating sweeteners, you're eliminating nuts, you're going down to almost zero carb. So there can be a lot of benefit to all of those things. And you're limiting your palette of foods quite a bit, because sometimes when you limit the variety of foods you eat, you might experience more hunger suppression, and it's easier to stay on track just completely eliminating a lot of food variety. Um, and then it also helps if somebody has maybe some food intolerances or things like that. So it can be definitely a very big diet cleanup. Sounds like instant gout, this BBB. Hey Ken. So yeah, so one of the things that's really interesting about gout, which I do know, and Ken Ken Berry has a video on gout on YouTube that I know is very helpful. The primary driver of gout is not meat, strangely. The primary driver is actually metabolic disease, right? So when you clear up the metabolic issues, which you can often do with cleaning up your diet and going low carb, oftentimes people going a higher meat but lower carb diet, that eliminates fructose and eliminates excess insulin secretion, that hyperinsulinemia, reduction of that, will cause a significant reduction in incidence of gout. So that sort of association of meat with gout for a lot of people seems to be um, wrong. That being said, we're all unique individuals and we have to see if there's a pattern and how to interrupt that pattern in terms of what works for individuals. So back to the BBBB. So it's great. It's a great elimination diet. It doesn't necessarily work through maybe some of your personal eating issues. It's kind of it tends to be like a pattern interrupt. So, when you do something like the BBB and E, it's a great reset for some people to kind of have a period of time where they're not they've interrupted the way they've been eating for a while, they're changing things up. Whereas, like, the Unstuck coaching program really goes into detail about why people get stuck, what are the patterns. It's more of a coaching program, right? And goes into more individual stuff. I tend to run it 3 times a year, Kristen, to answer your question. That's generally the way my schedule works out. Absolutely, it's available either now or possibly in the spring. Um, Lisa says, "Do I know of something to take to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep? I'm lucky to get 5 to 6." So, unfortunately, if you take most sleep aids, that's not the kind of quality of sleep that matters. So, drugged sleep is not as good as undrugged sleep. So, the question of why bacon, beef, butter, and eggs. Basically, yeah, I don't know if I get the order right, but that's right. So Lisa, I would say what's more the way to handle it if you can only get 5 to 6. Got a new cup for Christmas. Um, 5 to 6 hours is to try to look for some of the root cause of why your sleep is so abbreviated. Sometimes the answer to that is children, which unfortunately there is no cure for except time. But if they're little, um, but then there are maybe nutrient deficiencies you can look at. So you have to look for like what might be the root cause of why I'm getting such bad sleep. Is it a hormonal imbalance? Is it a mineral imbalance? Do I need more sodium? Do I need more magnesium? Is there something like that? So instead of like thinking about taking something to fix it, I would like look at it the other way and saying, what it is abnormal to only be able to sleep 5 to 6 hours, especially if you're not like, "Oh, I'm excited and energized." I mean, there are some people who seem to just need less sleep, and if that's the case, that's great. Um, if you're not sleeping and you're not energized, you're tired. Most of your family doesn't sleep. Interesting. So, then I would start to look at if you can, you know, is your room completely blacked out? Do you have, blackout curtains? Are you turning off all electronic devices at least 1 to 2 hours before you try to go to bed? That means maybe before bed you're reading from an old-fashioned book with pages instead of off of a screen reader. A paper white, like Kindle is okay because it's not an illuminated screen. Turning the lights down, making sure the bulbs in your bedroom are soft light, those things can help. Then the other thing that can help with sleep actually happens in the morning. So waking up early and then opening the door, going outside, getting bright light from outside into your eyes first thing in the morning for about 10 minutes, no sunglasses, being outside, even if it's cold, put a jacket on, get some sunlight in your eyes first thing. It also helps actually get a little exercise first thing in the morning. Doesn't have to be hard. So that could be like if you tend to wake up at 6 a.m., put on your shoes, put on your coat, go outside and take a 10-minute walk. Those things can often help. Ken says, can a person's job cause them gout? Maybe job is causing me gout. Stress can increase gout. The other thing, Ken, that's kind of interesting, I would assume that you have gout because your doctors tested your uric acid levels. But one thing that can happen is there are a couple of things that conditions that can look like gout. So if the only diagnosis you got was based on pain in your toe or finger, one of your joints, sometimes that can actually be related to my brain just went completely blank about what I'm trying to say. It is a type of crystal that you can get in your body when wow, calcium something. Wow. Okay. Brain just went oxalates. There we go. Oxalate crystals, oxalic acid. So sometimes an excess of oxalic acid can create oxalate crystals that can be in your joints, and those can seem like gout. So I would confirm that it is indeed gout. Um, Martha says BBBE starting January 2nd because I want black eyed peas and cabbage on January 1. Well, you do you, Martha. Ken says I get 5 to 5.5 hours of sleep because of your job. So my guess is your job starts fairly early in the morning. It might be possible, Ken, to get to bed a half an hour early. Is it? Because then you could get a little more sleep. I don't like to see anyone getting less than 6 for sure. 7 is a little more optimal, but like I said, there is individual variation between people. Colleen says, "Hey, Colleen, I take magnesium 3 and 8, 2,000 milligrams. It helps with sleep." Absolutely. That is definitely a sleep helper. There was actually a podcast episode with Tim Ferriss and Andrew Huberman. There we go. On Tim Ferriss's podcast, where Andrew Huberman, who is a professor at Stanford, he's a PhD. Dr. Andrew Huberman also has his own podcast as well. Talked about getting good sleep, and he recommended magnesium threonate. He also recommended EPA, which is an essential fatty acid. So if I find that episode, I will link it in the show notes and I'll try to tell you when in the episode they talk about it. But I had heard Tim Ferriss follow up later and say that he implemented this supplement stack and did think it was helping with his sleep. So I'll see if I can link that for those of you that need a little help in the sleep department. All right. So yeah, my brother got me this. It's called Purist. Oh, I don't have the top on it, but it's got a really cool sealable top where it doesn't have like a hole. It has like it's got like a drop down in the middle, so you can drink from any side. It kind of comes out and it seals really well. The brand name is Purist, Purist. So if they make taller ones too. Anyway. Oh, and reminder to all, like the video. Yes, if you're watching me on YouTube, like the video and subscribe. Like and subscribe, people. I could use the help, so thank you for doing that. All right, so what else did I talk about? Oh, on my podcast, it's coming out on Wednesday. I talk about doing a year in review. So if you need that, or well, you all should do that, I really suggest it. Rather than coming up with New Year's resolutions, I suggest doing a year in review and then setting yourself up well by setting goals for the next year. So rather than like, I don't like the idea of resolutions, and you're like, well, I'm kind of picking hairs, I'm kind of nitpicking about what's the difference between resolutions and goals. I think I explain in the podcast, but basically, I'm not even about doing goals. It's like goals are the starting point, but then from goals, you go to habits. What activities, what actions are you going to take next year? So listen to that podcast. It comes out on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Ken says left knee gets gout about 3 times a year. Someone's telling me osteoarthritis is making it worse. Well, yeah, I would definitely want to make sure that you're getting blood testing to confirm it's really gout. That can be helpful. Some people find a low oxalate diet can be the thing that they need. Hey, Laverne, good to see ya. Glad to have you here. Oh, wait, that sounds freezing. I would love to be where you are to say hi and give you a hug, but otherwise, I'm glad I'm not in a negative 30 Celsius degree temperature. But I'm sure it's nice and warm and you're cozy in your house. I am somebody that has to do this when I drink. See where my pinky is? Why you need to know that? I don't know, because I drop everything. I'm such a klutz. So, like if you're a klutz, you kind of develop strategies to keep yourself safer. So I have many strategies like that, like a little extra support under my drinking mug. Anyway, all right. So what else is going on? So I've been doing more time in the gym over the last several months. So that's been good. And like I said at the beginning of the call, I was really challenged over the second half of last week. Things got really hectic, a little bit busy. I didn't end up going to the gym for 2 of my planned days last week. So today I made a commitment. Late last night, right after I got in bed, I started thinking of all the reasons that I wasn't going to go to the gym this morning, but I went anyway. So I feel like, yay, check, good. What's so funny is, once upon a time, I didn't ever know how I was going to get my food in order, right? Like there was a time in my life where I felt like I didn't have a lot of hope of getting my weight in control. I didn't have a lot of hope of getting my relationship with food healthy. It just felt very disordered and very out of control. And now that feels totally manageable and in control. And I know how to gain weight. I know how to lose weight. I know how to make it all happen. I can't snap my fingers and be anyone else. I can't make it easy when it's usually hard, but I know how to control it and I know how to manage it. And I know how to be the best version of myself with food. And then once I got that under control, I was like, I need to do that with exercise too. I need to get in control of the exercise thing. I'm not getting any younger. I know I'm not super old, but I'm not super young. I'm in the middle. I am now officially middle aged. Um, anyway, and so I was like, oh, the next challenge this year is really about getting the body in terms of the gym working the way I want it to. I need the muscles. I need to gain as much muscle mass as I possibly can. It makes your life better. It makes you live longer, makes you healthier, makes you happier, all sorts of things. So this year's challenge is really about, I have about 10 more pounds that I would like to lose, but it's not a main priority in this moment. Um, but getting more fit and stronger and muscular is. So that's my challenge this year. Laverne says, made some nice hamburger soup, warm for the evening, shoveling tomorrow as it's snowing again. Glad you can get to the gym. Ours are shut down. Yeah, I can go to the gym. But if I couldn't go to the gym, I could do things at home. Where there's a will, there's a way. And Ken says my year-end review, stopping the gout. Plans E and F. Got it. Got it. Ken, have you been low carb for very long? And says made the sausage biscuits on Christmas. Excellent. Oh, great. I'm so happy that you made those and enjoyed them. The recipe, you guys, is in my holiday cookbook, and it's also should be on my website. Although I redid my website recently and the recipes are a little out of order, and so I need to make sure I'm trying to update them. So they should be up there soon. But basically, it's called a biscuit because it's like halfway between a cookie and a biscuit, but it's made it's savory. It's sausage biscuit. So it's cheese, sausage, some pork rinds, a little bit almond flour, a little coconut flour. So it's like if you had like a biscuit with great with sausage gravy. The concept is it's one thing. So it's a great like make ahead meal that you can then just grab and go. Helene says, "That's how I feel. I want control." Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important. A couple of people in my Unstuck program on Sunday were telling me that they finally feel like it's like they cracked the code. They know how it works. And so once you're like, "Oh, this isn't a mystery anymore. Like I actually understand how to lose weight. I understand how to maintain my weight. I just have to apply those things. And then when I apply those things, I get results." Crazy. I mean, for years losing weight felt like an incredible mystery to me. Like it was like magic that I couldn't make happen. It was like I didn't have the secret abracadabra words to get what I wanted. And now I'm like, oh, I have the code. I know how to make it work. I just have to do it. Gemma says, speaking about the gym, Beachbody with a coach. Any thoughts on this? The diet is not keto though, and Shakeology shakes are question, question, question. I would say I'm gonna say there are some good things about Beachbody. Absolutely, some great workouts in their program. Um, I have not had the most positive opinion about working with Beachbody coaches. That's not to say that there aren't good coaches who work for Beachbody, but I'm saying that the diet they recommend, if some, it's always the way, right? If somebody's like a great coach who happens to become a Beachbody coach, then you might get a great Beachbody coach. But generally speaking, people become Beachbody coach. Oh, I'm gonna get sued. Become Beachbody coaches because they aren't great coaches to start with, and they're just following this format. And if you don't like the Beachbody format in terms of what they recommend that you eat and how that you recommend they eat, and I don't recommend you eat the way that they recommend you eat, then I would say no, and I would say don't drink the Shakeology shakes. None of that. So, like, I know, like Nisha is an example. She got involved with Beachbody a little bit because she liked some of their workouts, but she's like, don't do the diet they say, right? So, I recommend my program instead of theirs because I wrote it because I believe in it. I would say there looks like some good workouts. I wouldn't if you don't if that's your only workout option, I would say do that. But don't follow their advice, and I wouldn't pay money for a coach who's going to tell you to do things that you probably already know you probably don't want to do. So there you go. Um, Karen says, I just want to say thanks, Kim, for always being awesome and real and constant. You inspire me every day. Well, that is awesome. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much, Karen. Ken says, low carb diet. Can you recommend me one? I will certainly do it. Okay, so Ken, generally speaking, the number one driver of, I know your issue is definitely that you are struggling with gout. So I would go on a low fructose diet, which means you want to not, well, first, a zero alcohol diet. That is the biggest driver. So eliminate all alcohol. Second, eliminate anything very high in carbs. And that includes fructose, so no soda, no fruit juice, so no liquid carbs at all. And then I would eliminate things like grains, like rice, pasta, bread. And then I would eliminate even like the starchier carbs, like potatoes. So eat meat, fish, um, chicken. If you're worried about red meat, I don't think you should be, but if you are, then chicken is fine. Um, and then eggs, things like that, and green leafy veggies. Can cook things in butter, stuff like that. But if you just move towards eating protein from meat, eggs, um, chicken, that kind of stuff, fish, and then leafy green veggies, so spinach or cabbage or Brussels sprouts or like any kind of greens like that. Even things like red pepper are okay. Lettuce. Like what do I eat? Um, Cucumbers, pickles, unsweetened, all that. And then, cook with olive oil and butter. You're going to have a big change. Andrea says, my hubby cured his gout with keto. He snuck a few cookies once and had the worst flare up. Won't do that again. Yeah. A lot. So if you're not already low carb, can certainly going to be a big help because by lowering that insulin level, you're going to improve your metabolic rate, or not your metabolic rate. Sorry. You're going to improve your metabolic situation, and by improving your metabolic situation, lowering your insulin, usually that's the path that a lot of people find improvement on their gout situation. Now, I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. That was not medical advice, but it is a healthy way to eat, and a lot of people have had great success going low carb to help their gout issues. Andrea's husband, in fact. So I have friends who've gone from like dozens of gout attacks a year to like maybe one or none going on a low carb diet. If you need general information about what a low carb diet is and you can't find it in my area, the Diet Doctor website, spell out the word Diet Doctor, one word, has good information on starting a low carb diet. What is in the cup? I don't think you can see it. So in this cup is a peppermint mocha. Basically, it's peppermint nut pods, some zero carb milk, a peppermint coffee pod, and some Locanto monk fruit sweetener. It's very tasty. And I know it's 5:30 and I'm still drinking coffee. I am that person who drinks coffee pretty much all day. Although I usually try to stop by like 5, not because it seems to interfere with my sleep, but it just seems like a good idea. But I've had this cup here on the desk for a while, so I'm just sipping on it still. So I've had so this yeah, I what have I so this is my third espresso pod today. So, in terms of my caffeine intake, I'll have maybe 3 to 4 espressos a day. And because of that, it's about the same as having a cup and a half to 2 cups of coffee. About the same. It's very yummy. The peppermint mocha nut pods are only available seasonally. So if you want to order some, they are shelf stable. So you can order up and put them in your cabinet. I think they're delicious. They're unsweetened. It's nut pods, NUTPODS is the brand. It's a non-dairy creamer. And it's very tasty. Interesting. Ken says spinach, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, sausage, and bacon are instant triggers. No alcohol. So spinach and Brussels spinach is actually very high in oxalic acid. So you might also look into oxalate issues because you might have an oxalate issue. Um, Doug says, any idea why alcohol drops blood sugar? Yes, yes. So when you drink, your liver needs to deal with that alcohol. So what does your liver do? Your liver does everything. So your liver, when you're on a keto or low carb diet, gluconeogenesis becomes very important. Okay. So we have gluconeogenesis, which is the process by which our body makes more glucose, um, that allows us to have all the glucose we need, right? When your liver is busy metabolizing the alcohol, it's not going to engage in gluconeogenesis to the same degree because it's busy trying to keep the alcohol from killing you, right? So gluconeogenesis gets shut down, not shut off completely as far as I know, but it does get downgraded. So you're producing less glucose out of your liver while your liver's dealing with that alcohol. And then also, I believe the process of um, where is my brain? Insulin and glucagon. Glucagon also is slightly suppressed, which is part of that experience where your body how so the two ways your body self-regulates your glucose level is through glucagon and gluconeogenesis. And because your liver is busy with alcohol, it's not doing to the same degree those other things. And so your blood glucose will often go down after you're drinking, but this is not a good thing. Um, Raging alcoholics have incredibly low A1Cs. It's one of those situations where you can't just look at the downstream in one area. You have to look at it across the board because even though you might have a low A1C, if you have a destroyed liver, that's not a general win. There you go. So your liver is busy, is the short answer. Hey, Tennessee. Paula says, I ordered nut pods from Amazon. They were 6 months expired and not returnable. Well, that is unfortunate. I would say, Paula, order directly from Nut Pods. I know the company is a very good one, and I might even reach out to the company directly apart from Amazon, email them, explain what happened, see if they can help you. Sometimes there are third party sellers on Amazon, and that's no bueno. Amy said, a lot of people say their sugar cravings go away after a few weeks on keto. Mine never did, even after several weeks of less than 20 grams. That's my incorporation of two words. Grams of carbs per day. So sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years. I would say there are two main groups of people. There are the people that when they lower their carb count enough, the sweet cravings go away. Some people say the sweet cravings never go away until they stop eating anything that tastes sweet at all. Now, I am drinking here a sweetened mocha beverage. Oh wow, look, the color. Do you guys can you guys see that? I have like light. There's a thing on the computer that like is trying to balance the. Apparently, this color is throwing off the light balance on my computer. I look much rosier when I lift it up. Well, that was sorry. I'm like a 2-year-old sometimes. So I would say about the sweet cravings, the first thing I would say for me is I just accepted I like sweet things, and I just accepted that. I've done 6-month periods where I've been sweetener free, and then I was like, I like sweet things. I eat sweet things. I just make sure the sweet things that I eat don't impact my weight. And so that's one approach. And then the second way is to say, I'm going to just really blow out the sweeteners, not eat them at all. So no artificial sweeteners, no fake sweet tastes, no erythritol, no keto desserts. If you want to do a 3-month experiment, sweetener free, then that might show you some things. That being said, there are sweet things that you can potentially incorporate and it's going to be okay. So you have to decide which direction you want to go in. Like I decided eventually what works for my life long term and makes me happy is to include things like a little bit of Lakanto in my coffee. I use the drops that makes it like a sweet mocha, but I don't eat a mug cake when I'm trying to lose body fat, and that's not going to help me, right? So I make strategic decisions about where to incorporate something sweet, and if I sip on a little bit of a sweetened coffee here and there, I feel pretty happy and I don't have to include a bunch of desserts and things like that. So the sweet taste in and of itself is a point of contention among the keto community if the sweet taste is a problem. And like I said, the best thing you can do is often eliminate the sweet taste and for some period of time and see how you feel. Ultimately, I decided I wanted to include sweet things and I found a way to make it work for me. And I've lost over the last year. Well, now it's more than a year but last year I lost 35 pounds, including something sweet every single day. So you can, if you want to, make that work. But if you feel haunted and like you struggle with sweet things, like when you eat sweet things, you want to eat the entire house, if they really egg your cravings on in general, then I would say go sweetener free. If you're like, I have a Zevia and things feel pretty happy and I'm good, I just always want the Zevia. Well, then find a way to incorporate the sweet things in a way that doesn't impact your fat loss, if fat loss is important to you. Helene says, "What do you feel like a good weekly weight loss is?" So I would say it entirely varies from person to person. We will go over this in the program, Helene, by the way. But I would say that I would not recommend trying to lose more than about 1% of your body weight a week. That's maximum. That's not what I'm saying you should be losing. So that means if you were 200 pounds, I wouldn't want you to try to lose more than 2 pounds a week. And I would actually suggest more like half of that. So more like a pound a week if you're 200 pounds. If you're 150 pounds, that would be like three quarters of a pound, right? And I don't recommend I recommend slow fat loss, not incredibly rapid fat loss. When you lose a lot of body fat, oh, sorry, let me say that in more. When you lose a lot of body weight rapidly, you tend to lose more muscle mass than fat mass, which will put you in a very, very bad position long term. Slower is better. Okay, there you go. People like my weird magic trick on the colors, huh? Gemma said Laird's chocolate mint superfood creamer. I have heard of that one. I haven't tried it, but there's a good creamer. Um, Deb says, sweet craving savior for me, avocado chocolate chip cookie recipe. Yeah. So, um, Gemma said, I will add for me, my A1C went up using too many sweeteners. Okay, well, clearly one of the sweeteners you're using is not zero carb for you. So you have to look at that too. I'm taking my socks off because I am warm. I got these socks, Christmas socks. They're fuzzy, incredibly warm, but I got a little warm here. Let me take them off. My mama gave them to me. Helene says, my favorite sweet thing is a quarter cup heavy cream cocoa powder, vanilla, and a few blueberries. I'm losing about 2 pounds a week. Well, that sounds amazing, Helene. I could not lose 2 pounds a week eating a quarter cup of heavy cream. So if you can, more power to you, girl. Keep doing it if it's working. Color change. So my go-to sweets when I want something sweet that's not going to impact my fat loss or make me gain weight, I do panna cottas, and I have 3 panna cotta recipes on my website. I checked them recently, so I know they're there. KimHowerton.com. Look for recipes. There are 3 different panna cotta recipes there. And I also do yogurt. I do Miriam. I made this amazing It's like frosting. So I took Greek yogurt and I drained it, although not much drains out, but I drained it to get as much water out as I could. You literally just put it in a fine mesh sieve, leave it overnight in the fridge, and then get rid of the liquid that drains out, which is like barely any. And then I mixed half a packet of the caramel macchiato keto chow with the yogurt. I did it to taste. I think it was about a half a packet and a little bit of sweetener, and it made this delicious substance that I think is kind of like frosting. I frosted some muffins with it, some keto cake muffin things that I was trying out, and it made a frosting for it. But I could also see eating it. I don't know if it's a mousse or a yogurt or what it is, but it's delicious. And that's also one of my options, is kind of a lower impact uh sweet treat that I've done. Lynn says ketovore for about a year so far with no real weight loss, but back and forth, same 4 pounds. Recent blood work shows an elevated CK. CK. Don't know what CK is off the top of my head. Miriam says caramel macchiato, keto chow, and yogurt sounds so yummy. It was really good. I made, so I have a recipe on my um YouTube for tiramisu that I just put up last week. It's super good. But if you just make the cake part without making all of the cream cheese the whipped cream layers, so just the cake part, but I put it in muffins instead of making it cake, although you could do the cake. And then I made that caramel macchiato yogurt frosting, and I put it on those little cupcakes, and they were so good. So, so good. So you could also just make a sheet cake out of that and layer on that yogurt and caramel macchiato. Miriam, did you see in my recipe for tiramisu, I put a little bit of caramel macchiato keto chow in the cake? So good. Anyway, just telling you guys. So anyway, the YouTube for my tiramisu is up on YouTube. But that you can make the cake without making all of the whipped cream. Super good. Okay. So got it. Lynn. Okay. So if you're not seeing any weight loss on ketovore, I would suggest you start tracking your macros and see what you can see. On a high protein diet, it's not unusual for creatinine to be high. One of the issues is the blood test for creatinine is testing for proteins. And your body can't tell the difference, or at least the blood work can't tell the difference between ingested protein and protein that's coming from breaking down protein, like your body breaking down. So there are some blood markers that can be artificially elevated. Oh, they're not artificially elevated, but the source matters, right? So it matters if the protein is your protein or meat. If it's meat protein, it's not a problem. If it's your proteins from your body breaking down, that's a problem. Problem is the blood test can't differentiate between those two things. So I would always follow up with your doctor about that and discuss your life conditions so that they would know, oh, maybe that is or isn't a point of concern. But if you're not seeing so they've done studies and they found that there are three main ways that three main things in common with successful weight losers. The first is they track. The second is, oh, I have this written down. I know two of the three. What are they? So they do some form of meal prep. That's the one I always forget. Now that doesn't have to look. That's not like following a meal prep. That's literally like you plan your meals and you have the things you need in your house to make them happen. It doesn't have to look like following somebody else's thing, right? But you do some form of meal prep. You do some form of tracking and you do coaching. Those three things are the primary drivers of long-term fat loss success. In studies, when they've asked people, have you had successful fat loss? What were the things that were most impactful? Those were the three things that people found the most impactful. Dr. Oz claims he cured Dr. Phil's gout with CBD gummies. I don't think that's true. I mean, no. I would say clean up your diet, like completely clean up your diet. If that doesn't work, because I think it will work, if that doesn't work, then you can try weird exotic things that require you to pay money to buy things. But cleaning up your diet, big deal. Doesn't a person need a doctor's prescription? CBD in most states seems to be available. It is in California, so no, you don't need a prescription for that. And no, I don't think they really work that well at things like gout. Miriam, it's a new version. So the recipe in my cookbook, I actually updated it recently. The cookbook recipe didn't have the caramel macchiato in it. The recipe over on YouTube, I added it. It made the cake fluffier and it gave it like a really good flavor. So check out the YouTube. And actually, I updated the recipe in my cookbook. So if you re-download, anyone who's ever bought my holiday cookbook, you can re-download it and it's got the updated version. I make that available for lifetime for people. So if you want to go get that, you'll get that. No extra charge if you already bought it. And my doctor told me last week, once a type 2 diabetic, always a type 2 diabetic. Is that true? Well, that really depends on what your doctor thinks. So if your doctor is like, well, once type 2 diabetes is in your chart, it's always going to be in your chart. Well, yeah, it's in your chart. And if your doctor chooses to call you a type 2 diabetic, I guess you can say that's true, right? But let's say you started seeing a new doctor right now and you went in with an A1C of 5.4 and you continued to eat the way you eat right now for the rest of your life. Would that doctor ever know without getting your old chart that you're a type 2 diabetic? So it's really a semantics issue, if that makes sense. It's really just how we choose to say things. Now, might it be true, Anne, that you have a tendency towards metabolic issues when you eat a high carb diet? Absolutely. So it's probably true that if you went back to eating the way you ate that got you type 2 diabetes, that you would get type 2 diabetes again. Absolutely. That being said, it's really just semantics. It's really just how we choose to use language to say, are you in remission? Do you have type 2 diabetes anymore? What does it matter? You're eating in a way currently that keeps your blood sugar in control. You can keep your blood sugar in control for the rest of your life by doing the right lifestyle intervention. You can keep yourself from getting any of those complications down the line that type 2 diabetics get. So what does it matter? It's semantics at that point. Hopefully that made sense. Andrea says, I've learned so much from you, Ken and Nisha. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Carb-free me says, I've been mixing keto chow with Greek yogurt and eating it for about a year. It's so good, especially with some sugar-free whipped cream on top. They call it protein sludge. Well, there you go. Nancy says, I watched your YouTube of tiramisu. Nancy, do you know how many times I videoed that? Oh my God. I am such a perfectionist. I don't know that it shows in the end result, but I kept being like, that cake didn't come out the way I want for the video. And I wasn't recording that part. I recorded video after video after video. Anyway, glad it finally got out there. I was like, done is better than perfect, Kimberly. Get it out there. So I finally got it up. Gemma says, my A1C was 6.9, lowered it to 5.8. Awesome. Doctor said I am still diagnosed as diabetic, even though due to patient history and chart, right? It's in your chart. Some things are just considered once in your chart, always in your chart. Tracy said the pork rind pumpkin pancakes were great. I'm glad you like them. I used them as a dessert, cold with cream cheese. No one knew. Yep, no one will know. No one will know. Delicious. Lynn says, I can't seem to get enough calories in. I guess I'm just not that hungry. I do track macros and typically I consume 900 to 1100 in a day. Sounds like me, says Helene. So here's the deal. If you're truly eating 911 calories a day on an ongoing basis, this will not be good for you long term. We need food. We are people who need food. It is just the reality. And if you're chronically under eating, you are not going to age well. You will lose muscle mass. You will have issues. So I suggest a reverse diet, which is a period of time where you continually add a little bit of calories and a little bit of calories and a little bit of calories and a little bit of calories until you get up to an appropriate amount of food for an adult human. And then if you want to lose body fat in the future, you can do a cut. You can drop that down. But I don't want people living on 900 calories for the rest of their life. That is not an appropriate amount of food for an adult. Work your way up, ladies. If so, this happens as people age. I don't know any of your ages, so I'm not saying you guys are aging, but we're all aging. Um, And as we age, and I've seen this with my mom too, a lot of times hunger goes down. We start eating less, we're eating less, we're eating less, we're eating less. And at a certain point, it's not really great to continually eat less because a lot of times the less we eat, the less protein we're getting. And we're getting maybe 40, 50 grams of protein a day, which is insufficient for most of us unless you are this tall. And when you do that, when you're eating inappropriately for long periods of time, you will lose muscle mass. And when you lose muscle mass, you become less healthy. The number one reason that people, when they age, end up in nursing homes is not because they have major health crisis. It's that they are sarcopenic and cannot get off the toilet themselves, cannot get out of their chair themselves. They need an aid to help them because their body breaks down. So everyone who can hear my voice, the thing more than anything, I don't care what size you wear. I don't care what you look like in a bikini. I want you to be happy with your body. I'm not saying I don't want you to look good in a bikini. I'm just saying what I care most about is that we have healthy bodies that will function into our 90s if we want them to and beyond. And that includes making sure we are not losing muscle mass as we're aging. And it happens, especially postmenopausally. We are very much at risk for loss of lean body mass because of the reduction in growth hormones that we have, because of the reduction in estrogen, because of the reduction in progesterone. When we start losing these things and we start eating less and we start losing muscle mass, our long-term health outcomes are not going to be that good. So we need to make sure we're eating a sufficient amount of food, especially a sufficient amount of protein as we age. So if you're someone who is chronically under eating, I would suggest altering that trajectory. And you can do it a little bit at a time. Add a little bit of food a day. Helene says, before keto, I'd eat junk food till cows come home. Now I just don't feel that hungry. Okay, I will say, I'm not saying overeat. I'm not saying you need to eat a ton. I'm saying you need to eat an appropriate amount, right? So for a lot of us, that hunger reduction that comes from eating a ketogenic diet is great. It allows us to eat the appropriate amount. It allows us to stop overeating. That being said, you don't want to be under eating either. Food is our fuel source. Food is how we reconstruct our bodies. It's our medicine, right? It is our nutrition. Nutrition, what makes us healthy. What keeps us vibrant. We need to eat the appropriate amount. So, and if you don't know what the appropriate amount to eat is, we can absolutely work on that together. But you want to be in the right range for you. Michelle says, "Do I think that the natural sweeteners are best, or do you use sugar alcohols as well?" So I don't know. It's a little nebulous what natural sweeteners mean. So do you mean like honey? I would say if anybody has any metabolic issues, I certainly wouldn't use honey. It is in a lot of ways to your body sugar, or agave. That's just junk, and I would never use it. I certainly am much more fond of sugar alcohols, or even in certain circumstances with certain sweeteners, artificial sweeteners, I think are better than full-fledged sugar if you still have body fat to lose and you have metabolic distortion, right? If you're insulin resistant, if your body doesn't properly respond to carbohydrates, okay, you mean stevia and monk fruit. I really like stevia and monk fruit. I like them both. I use stevia glyceride. I think it tastes better than just pure stevia, and I like pure monk fruit. I have Lakanto in my coffee. I use the drops. Sometimes I use erythritol. I use Swerve to bake with, but I would say on a daily basis, I probably use more monk fruit because the main sweetener I have is my coffee. I like them all. I like them all, and I am aware that if I haven't had erythritol for a while and I have some erythritol, I might hold on to a little more water, so my weight might be up a pound or 2 on the scale if I have a big erythritol-based dessert, but it's not body fat gain, it's just some bloat, and it goes away, and I don't really worry about it. But if I was somebody that's still worried about it, that would throw me off. So you have to know how your body responds to these things. I find some people don't respond well to certain sweeteners, they respond well to other sweeteners. So get to know what sweeteners work for you if you're going to use sweeteners, and then stick to them. Keep using them as long as they work for you. All right, guys, it's coming up on 6. Thank you, Anne, so much. Happy New Year to Anne. I appreciate the little bonus points you gave me on YouTube. I appreciate that so much. I appreciate you. Um, if anyone is interested in my program for the new year, Keto Unstuck, we start on Monday. I'll put a link to sign up in the notes on this video after I'm done with this video, so you can join if you want. It is absolutely a paid program. So if you don't want to pay for a program, it's totally fine. Keep coming to these lives. I'm happy to have you. If you want my attention for 12 weeks, it's actually I give you a 6-month program for it because I give you 3 extra months free. If you want like to really tackle this thing and take care of it once and for all, join Keto Unstuck, and I'll see you. I'll see you soon. Linda says it's so wonderful you're giving us this message. Too many of us feel we eat the less we eat, the better. Yep, absolutely. And under eating older people, not a good thing. I mean, don't eat older people. You know what I mean. As we get older, we need to make sure we're nourished. All right, guys. I am so happy to hear from you guys. I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye.